Good day everyone, I'm Jenna B. Cruz and I'm from Group 4, and now we will discuss to you the Chapter 4, Believing in Marketing Research Ethics. Here are the following topics that we will be discussed later. Let's start with the solid to the point ethics checklist. This table is a simple ethics checklist that will help us test if our decisions in business or marketing are ethical. So, itong table na to, hindi siya perfect, but this will serve as a guideline that if we answer yes to any of these questions, it probably means that our decision is not ethical. The first one is, does my decision treat me or my company as an exception to a convention that I must trust others to follow? Or, in other words, that does my decision treat my company or myself as an exception to the rules? And if you answer yes, then it is unfair. Dapat wala tayong bias. Kumbaga, maging fair tayo lahat na lahat ng mga respondents natin ay dapat sumunod kung ano yung nakalagay dito or kung ano yung provided na rules. So, wala dapat na exception. So, sumunod na question, would I repel customers by telling them about my decision? Or in other words, would I be embarrassed to tell customers about my decision? So, if you answered yes, then it is probably wrong. So, dapat confident tayo, alam natin kung ano yung dapat na gawin, kung ano yung tamang decision dapat. And the third is, would I repel qualified job applicants by telling them about my decision? In other words, would this decision scare away qualified job applicants? Then, if you answered yes, then it is probably not good for the company. Kailangan mo ng mga employees, potential na employees. Dapat nag-a-attract ka ng mga potential employees mo, hindi yung pinapaalis mo pa sila, di ba? Hindi rin yun good for the image of the company. The fourth is, have I been cliquish? If you answered yes, then may mga following questions tayo dito. Cliquish behavior, or am I being biased or favoring certain people? So, dapat hindi Pero if oo, ito yung mga following questions. Is my decision partial or unfair? Does it divide the company's goals? Do I need to force or use authority to make it happen? So, if you answered yes, then it is unethical. So, mali yun, di ba? Dapat nga wala tayong kinakampihan, wala tayong fini-favor na ibang tao, wala tayong mga pinipili, wala tayong favoritism. So, dapat, in all aspects, maging professional tayo and treat others fairly. Would I prefer avoiding the consequences of this decision? Am I making this decision but hoping not to face the consequences? So, if you answered yes, then it shows a lack of accountability. Dapat kung ano man yung maging decision mo sa buhay, dapat mong harapin yun. Kung ano man yung magiging consequences nito. So, the last question is, did I avoid tough questions by telling myself I can get away with it? So, if you answered yes, then that's a red flag. So, dapat kung ano man yung itanong sa atin or kung ano man yung sabihin sa atin, sabihin natin truthfully or wag natin iiwasan yun. I mean, may mga times din naman na, kunyari, uncomfy tayo sa isang question. Pwede naman din natin sabihin yun as a reason na hindi tayo komportable na sagutin yung question na yun. But, yung entirely na iwasan siya or ibahin yung topic, parang nakakabastos rin kasi yung ganon. Kasi at least, alam nung researcher na hindi ka komportable sa ganong question. So, this checklist is just a quick test na if you answer no sa lahat ng questions na to, then your decision is more likely to be ethical. Then, if you answer yes kahit isa sa mga question na to, then you might need to rethink your decisions. Or makatulong rin sa atin to na to take a pause and think before making decisions that could potentially harm customers, employees, and company's reputation. Keeping in mind a researcher's obligation to respondents. Marketing researchers rely on people or respondents to answer questions honestly and willingly. Sinasabi lang naman dito na tayo mga researchers, syempre nagre-rely tayo sa ating mga respondents na magsabi sila ng totoo, katotohanan. At syempre, bakit ba tayo umaasa sa magsabi sila ng totoo? Makakatulong din naman sa atin yun eh. Kumbaga, pag nagsabi sila ng totoo, ay magiging accurate yung research natin, di ba? As a researcher, show kindness to your respondents. Because if respondents feel abused, tricked, or that their privacy isn't safe, they may refuse to join future studies. So, gaya na nga ng sabi ko, whenever a respondent na feeling nila, hindi nila pagkakatiwalaan yung researcher na to, maaaring maapektuhan to yung sa mga following studies pa. Kumbaga, parang dahil sa experience nila na yon, matatakot na sila na may interview or masama sa mga ganitong studies dahil nga dun sa experience nila na na-invade yung privacy nila. So, hindi sila mafe-feel secured dahil dun. So, dapat, as a researchers, we must always get informed consent, be honest, and protect respondents' privacy. Obtaining informed consent. To gain consent from respondents, you can draft a letter that accompanies the questionnaires you provide. So, ito dapat yung mga kasama sa sa letter of consent mo. So, una, the study won't harm them physiologically or physically. So, ano ba muna yung informed consent, okay? So, informed consent means that when someone agrees to join a study, they do so with a clear understanding of what the study is about and what it involves. As a researcher, i-explain mo sa respondents kung para saan nga ba yung study na to. Kung ano ba yung, kumbaga, kung ano ba yung may itutulong nila dito, kumbaga, para aware sila kung saan magagamit yung mga sagot nila, kung ano yung maitutulong nila sa'yo. And having a informed consent, it ensures that respondents or participants know the purpose, their rights, and that they won't be harmed. Gaya nga ng sabi ko, the study won't harm them physiologically or physically. Syempre, wala namang may gusto na nasasagot ka na nga lang ng survey tapos hindi mo alam. Mapapahama ka pala pag once na sinagutan mo to, pag pinrovide mo yung mga personal information mo, diba? There are no right or wrong answers. So, since this is a study or a research, walang tama or maling sagot. So, sasabihin mo lang, kumbaga maging openly sila sa'yo, nasagutin kung ano yung nasa isip talaga nila or kung ano yung nararamdaman talaga nila. Respondents aren't required to answer any questions that makes them uncomfortable. So, kung hindi komportable yung respondents na sagutin yung specific question na yun, hindi dapat natin sila pilitin. Because, pag pinilit natin sila, edi parang nakaka-invade ng privacy yon. Kumbaga sila na nga yung mag-volunteer na sumagot sa research ninyo, tapos pipilitin nyo pa. The goals of the study, but without revealing anything that would needlessly bias the respondents. So, ayun nga, since ang gusto natin mga researchers is maging accurate ang ating study, dapat, kumbaga, syempre para sa atin, hindi natin i-alter yung mga sagot ng respondents, ganun. Kung ano lang talaga yung sinagot nila o nilagay nila. Kasi yun nga yung purpose ng study nyo para malaman kung ano yung mga behaviors ng customers or kung ano yung nakalagay sa data nyo. Avoiding deception in research. What do you mean avoiding deception? Syempre, kumbaga walang magsisinungaling. Maging truthfully lang yung study ninyo. The first one is don't lie to respondents. Syempre, unang-una na yan deception. Ano ba yung deception? Parang panloloko yan, di ba? So, una mong gagawin, and unang responsible mo as a researcher is huwag ka magsisinungaling sa mga respondents mo. Researchers must not mislead people about the study, how long it will take, or what their answers will be used for. So, dapat, as a researcher, kung gusto mo maging open sa yung mga respondents mo, maging open ka rin kung about saan ba yung study mo. So, meron naman dito na temporary disguise versus lying. Sometimes, the true purpose can be slightly hidden to avoid biased answers, but outright lying is unethical. So, gaya nga ng sabi ko kanina, di ba dapat hindi tayo magsisinungaling sa ating research? Siyempre, sa ating mga respondents, kasi mali yun unethical yun. Pero, ang sinasabi naman dito sa temporary disguise is, sa una, maaring maging hidden yung maaaring matago yung totoong purpose ng study nyo para lang makuha nyo yung kumbaga yung totoong sagot ng respondents para walang bias nga, ma-prevent yung biased answers. Pero after magsagot ng respondents na yun, dapat kumbaga i-clarify mo sa kanila yung totoong purpose ng study na yun. Protecting confidentiality and anonymity. Siyempre, sa una, as a responsible researcher, you must protect your respondents' privacy. Always keep responses confidential or anonymous. Gaya nga, pag kunwari mag-i-interview ka or magpapasagot ka ng survey, yung name doon is dapat optional lang. Kasi, maaring, minsan parang mag-aalala yung mga respondents na baka mamaya mapagkalat yung pangalan nila, ganun. So, dapat, as a researcher, you are responsible na ma-secure yung privacy ng respondents mo. Representing a study sponsor truthfully. Don't pretend the study is from a university or professor if it's really for a business. Siyempre, pag sinabi mo yan, false information na yan, di ba? Mami-mislead na yung mga tao doon. So, kung para saan nga ba ang study na to, answer it truthfully. Bypassing sogging and frogging. So, what is sogging? It is selling under the guise of research. Where ito yung mga fake surveys to sell products. And the frogging naman is the fundraising under the guise of research, asking for donations instead of real research. So, ito nga pala yung example of sogging. So, makikita nyo dyan sa survey, no? na kumbaga parang kunwari survey pero hindi mo alam pinagbebentahan ka na pala. Na-damage yung tiwala ng mga tao sa mga survey. Bakit? Kasi dahil sa mga practices na to, karamihan sa mga tao ngayon, like yung mga phone calls or emails, asking them to join a study are just hidden sales or donation requests. So, dahil doon, kumbaga, bumaba yung rates ng mga nagpapasurvey sa on-call o kaya sa mga emails kasi iniisip nila na baka perahan lang sila, di ba? Presenting a study's processes, procedures, and purposes accurately. So, syempre, dapat maging honest tayo kung gaano katagal pa sasagutin yung survey, ganon. Tapos syempre, yung real purpose ng study and kung saan ba yung gagamitin yung results. And lastly, delivering upon promises of compensation. Keep promises. If you offer compensation like money, rewards, or result summary, you must deliver. Syempre kung kunwari, after masagutan yung survey namin, yung study namin, kunwari bayaran kita 50 pesos. So, dapat, totoo yung sinasabi mo talaga. Kasi syempre, yun, parang nang-scam ka naman nun, diba? So, hindi naman ethical yun. Mali yun. Parang pinasagutan mo lang, tapos takas ka na. Mali yun. So, dapat kinikip mo yung pinramis mo sa respondents mo. Respecting respondent privacy. First is limiting personal data request. Privacy doesn't mean researchers can never ask for personal details, but they should only ask if it is necessary for the study. Ayun nga, di naman literal na pare yung name, email, contact number, hindi mo na pwedeng tanungin. Syempre, ang dapat mo lang tanungin kung ano lang yung kailangan sa study nyo. Second is observing behaviors ethically. So, ito yung mga common yet questionable observation methods, the use of hidden microphones and cameras. Watching or recording people without their knowledge violate their right to informed consent. So, dapat yung una pa lang, if balak mo man mag-record or mag-video, dapat aware yung respondents mo. Dapat nasa consent letter mo na yun eh. Kung, ma'am, sir, okay lang po ba na i-record natin yung conversation natin, mag-video tayo habang nasa interview, ganon, para aware sila kung ano yung ginagawa mo as a researcher for this study. Voice pitch analysis. So, sa voice pitch analysis naman, it uses computers and software to study how a person's voices changes in tone or pitch. Yung mga recordings na to, yung analyze nila later without permission. Yung example nito, akala nila sasagot lang siya ng survey. Tapos, it was used for, study for emotional reactions. E di, kung ano man yung ma-analyze ka, gamit yung boses mo, gano'n. Hindi mo alam kung saan na pala siya nagamit, gano'n. Kumbaga unfair yun sa magiging respondents mo eh. At syempre, unethical. Kasi hindi ka naman nag-give ng permission para i-record yung voice mo. Hindi mo naman din alam kung saan nila gagamitin yun, di ba? Garbology studies. Ano ba tong garbology na to? It is studying trash or yung basura, which a researcher combs through people's trash to assess the things they consume and violate respondents' privacy. Kumbaga, naghalongkat siya ng mga basura mo dyan sa bahay. tapos may nakita siya. Ito pala si gumagamit ng pampakapal ng buhok. Ay, baka mamaya may, kumalat yung information na yon. Tapos malaman na sabihin na, isipin or sabihin ng ibang tao, ay ganito ganyan na parang naubusan na ata ng buhok, baka panot ata to, ganyan. Hindi mo alam. Baka isipin ng tao, nakakalbo ka na pala, o diba? Yung, syempre, kung man yung mga naitapan mo, nagamit mo na, sobrang personal information din yun eh. Kasi syempre, ikaw mismo yung gumamit or nag-consume ng product na yun, diba? So, this reveals very private details about people's health, lifestyles, or habits that they may not want anyone to know. Kaya nga nasa basura na, diba? So, meron palang exception dito sa mga following practices na to. Kagaya na nga lamang ng mystery shoppers. These are allowed since employees already know that their performance may be monitored as a condition of employment. So, kumbaga parang ito lang yung masasabi natin pwede na pang-observe ng behavior, ganon. Since, sabihin natin, expected na nila na maaring pwedeng may gawin na ganon. Since, minomonitor na sila para masabi pa kung karapat dapat ba sila dito sa company na ito. Executing qualitative research correctly. Some studies ask participants to react to ambiguous pictures, drawings, or situations to reveal hidden feelings. Kagaya na lang ng picture dito. Kung nakikita nyo dyan, like, yung malaking picture kung yung una yung nakita nyo dyan, yung parang dalawang muka or isang vase. Parang yun yung in a way na yung goal is to get them project their personal opinions, feelings, or attitudes indirectly. Kumbaga parang, pag sinagot mo, dalawang mukha yung nakita mo sa una, sabihin natin, mabait kang tao. Yung parang, kung ano yung nire-represent ng kung ano yung sinagot mo. Kumbaga parang hindi mo alam, may ibang meaning pala yun. Kumbaga, para lang mailabas ng respondents kung ano yung tunay niyang opinion about dun sa product mo o sa kung ano man pinapasagutan mo. Ayan. Respondents often don't realize they're revealing personal thoughts. Parang tactic lang yun na ginagamit ng mga researchers to openly na maging totoo yung sagot ng kanilang respondents. Researchers should debrief respondents afterward and explain the real purpose. So, syempre, after nun, kung baka nakuha mo na yung sagot, of course, paliwanag mo din sa kanila kung bakit ba ito yung tinanong mo? Kumbaga, ano bang purpose nito, diba? Kumbaga, para malinawan din sila. So, mild deception may be acceptable, but respect requires transparency after the study. So, ito yung nasabi ko kanina na temporary disguise versus lying. Combining information from various sources. Ito, gathering bits of information from different sources. Kunwari, sa bangko, healthcare, o government, or sa social media. It might seem harmless if separated siya, diba? Pero kung ipagsama-sama mo yun, like kunwari may isang profile dyan ng respondents mo, tapos yung parang kala mo buong talambuhay na niya, alam mo. Di ba parang mali naman yun? hindi pala parang mali talaga. Kasi syempre, magtatanong ka lang na sa respondents mo about their personal data if it is necessary in your study. Merging all the data into one complete profile creates a serious privacy risk similar to Big Brother surveillance. Ano yan, si kuya ka? Diba? Pinoy Big Brother. Diba? Dapat, ayun nga, avoid unnecessary personal information because it invades privacy. Taking responsibility for your respondents' well-being. Yung dapat gawin ng isang researcher is may respeto, participants' time, comfort, and emotions. Ito yung mga examples na poor practices. Unang-una dyan, contacting them in an inconvenient time. Kunwari, tumawag ka. Tapos, sobrang late na pala. Kunwari, patulog na yung oras. O kaya, during dinner. Hindi ba parang bastos naman nun? Tapos, kumbaga parang madali ka pa na makasagot sila. Tapos, hindi mo naman alam, sobrang busy pala ng tao, di ba? Dapat, kung balak man natin tumawag, dapat sa, convenient na oras. Or might as well na, kumbaga, mag-schedule tayo ng appointment with the respondent kung ano yung komportable or available time for them. Using incompetent or insensitive interviewers. Using rude or untrained interviewers. Kung ikaw yung potential na interviewee, syempre, dapat maging professional tayo. Alam mo yung mga dapat lang na tanungin sa respondents. Dapat ipaalam mo sa kanila yung purpose ng study, hingin mo yung consent nila. Madali lang naman yun eh. Hindi yung kala mo parang tropa mo lang yung respondents. Mali yun. Asking needlessly depressing questions. Asking depressing or unnecessary questions that make people uncomfortable. So, number 1 din na iniisip natin is dapat komportable sa atin yung mga respondents. Huwag niyo sila pipilitin na sagutin yung mga certain questions kung hindi sila komportable. And lastly, querying excessively. Or, let us say, contacting the same person too often with surveys. Baka mamaya, kumbaga iisang tao lang yung kinokontak mo palagi sa pagsasagot ng surveys. Mali naman yun. Syempre, parang nagkaroon ka rin ng bias, di ba? Kung una pa lang, tumanggi na yung respondent, dapat, hindi na natin sila kulitin. Kung yun na silang abalahin pa. Kasi kung payag naman talaga sila na mismo magsasabi, di ba? Sasagot naman agad yan pag available sila eh. Pero kung ayaw talaga nila at hindi sila komportable, huwag natin pipilitin. So, ayun lang naman yung mga dapat nating tandaan as a mabuting researcher that this action is syempre dapat natin i-observe kasi it may result to reduce response rates, lower quality of answers, and make people distrust research. So, sa madaling salita, respecting privacy means only asking what is needed, being transparent, and protecting respondents from harm or discomfort. Dapat natin tandaan na researchers should avoid spying, lying, and combining too much personal data. They must also be considerate sa nararamdaman ng respondent sa time na binibigay nila and sa willingness na mag-participate. Kasi naman, if people feel their privacy is invaded or violated, then mawawalan sila ng tiwala sa research, diba? And ayaw naman natin yon. Kasi sa paggawa ng mga future studies pa, magiging mahirap at mas lalong magastos, di ba? So, yun lang naman mga dapat tandaan. And once again, I'm Jana B. Cruz, and thank you for listening.
Okay, good day everyone. I'm Glazal Ana Rosario, and today I'll be sharing some important topics about research ethics. In this report, I'll be discussing 4 main points. First is avoiding abuse of research clients. Second, making sure proprietary stuff stays proprietary. Third, conducting unnecessary research. And lastly, performing wrong or irrelevant research. So, these topics will help us understand how researchers should act responsibly and professionally when dealing with clients and conducting studies. So, let's start with our first topic, avoiding abuse of research clients. In research, trust is the foundation of every project. Clients put in their money, time, and sensitive information, so it's our duty to treat them fairly and professionally. Now, let's break down the common ways researchers sometimes abuse clients and why we should avoid them. First, overcharging and double billing. This is when a researcher asks for more payment than what was originally agreed. For example, kung ang contract states 10,000 lang ang bayad, pero pagkatapos ng project bilang siningil pa ng additional 2,000 na hindi naman napag-usapan, thus already considered abuse. As researchers, dapat clear tayo sa costing from the very start. Kung may unexpected expenses, dapat ina-explain at ina-approve muna ng client. Kasi, once na they feel na niloloko sila sa pera, para hindi na sila magtitiwala ulit. Remember, clients are willing to pay for quality research, pero hindi sila lahat binibigla o piniperahan. Second is not keeping client information private. Confidentiality is very important in research ethics. When a client shares internal data like strategies, sales figures, or future product launches, they're basically trusting you with their secrets. Kung ibabahagi mo yun sa ibang tao or worse, sa competitors, malaking damage ang pwedeng mangyari. Example, you're working with Jollibee and you found out about your next burger product. If you tell McDonald's, you're not only breaking trust but also risking your credibility as a researcher. That's why we sign confidentiality agreements to make sure na ang data ng client ay secured at hindi lumalabas sa labas ng project. Third naman ay conflict of interest or working with competitors. This is when a researcher accepts projects from 2 rival companies at the same time. Let's say you're hired by Pepsi to do a market study. Then later, Coca-Cola will also ask you for a similar study. Kung pareho mong tinanggap, that's a direct conflict of interest. Why? Kasi, kahit subconsciously you might use insights from one project to help one another. And once the client finds out, you lose both their trust. In research, neutrality and loyalty matter. Always remember, you can serve 2 masters at the same time. Fourth naman ay reusing all data. This happens when researchers recycle data from previous project instead of collecting new and updated information. For example, the client wants a 2025 consumer survey, pero ginamit mo lang yung data na nakuha mo pa noong 2022. The problem here is that markets and consumer behavior change quickly. Trends, technology, preferences shift every year. All data might give inaccurate or misleading results, and clients make big decisions based on your findings. So, dapat fresh palagi ang data. Kahit mas effort, mas worth it for accuracy. Fifth naman is fixing interviews for different clients. Ito yung kapag isang interview lang ang pinagawa pero ginagamit para sa dalawang magkaibang projects. Example, you ask respondents about their favorite milk brands. Pero ginamit mo rin yung isagot nila para sa isang coffee shop study. Ang problem dito is reliability. Kasi each client deserves a unique focus study. Kung pinaghahalo-halo mo, hindi na valid yung results. Parang sinasabi mo na one size fits all. Pero sa research, hindi ganon. Every project has specific goals. Ang dapat customize ang data gathering. And lastly, being unprofessional. Unprofessional behavior can come in many forms, like being late, in submitting reports, producing low-quality work, or not following agreed terms. For example, if you promise to deliver a complete report on Friday, pero Monday na hindi pa rin tapos full of errors pa, the client will feel disrespected. Professionalism isn't just about the final output. It's also about communication, respect for deadlines, and work ethic. If you consistently show professionalism, clients won't just respect your work. They'll also recommend you to others. Yes. So, now let's move on to our second topic, making sure proprietary stuff stays proprietary. In simple terms, proprietary means something that belongs to someone, usually the client. When a researcher creates a new method or tool for a specific project, that method automatically becomes the client's property. So let's say you're hired by a company A, and you design a very unique survey format or data analysis style just for them. You cannot choose that same method for another company without permission. Why? Because it's considered intellectual property. Okay? Using the same method for others is not just unprofessional. It's a breach of trust. Clients pay not just for your time but also for your originality and exclusivity. Imagine if you develop a research strategy for Nike, then use the exact same thing for Adidas. That's a huge ethical violation. So as researchers, we need to respect ownership. If you create something new for a client, it's theirs, not yours to share around. Okay? Being ethical in this part shows integrity and respect for the client's investments in you and your work. Okay? So let's move on to our third topic, conducting unnecessary research. Next, let's talk about conducting unnecessary research. This simply means doing a study that doesn't really need to be done. Parang research for the sake of research lang. It's considered a wasteful kasi it doesn't add new information or solve any actual problem. For example, imagine doing a big survey about whether people like using our smartphones. Obvious naman na halos lahat gumagamit ng phone ngayon. So that's unnecessary. Another example is repeating a study that already has clear, updated results unless you have a new angle or purpose. It's not needed. As researchers, our goal is to provide useful insights, something that can guide decisions or solve real issues. Kung gagawa tayo ng research na walang purpose, we're just wasting the client's money and time. That's why before starting any project, we should always ask, is this research really needed? Will this bring something new to the table? If the answer is no, then it's better to revise the plan than to proceed with something pointless. Okay, fourth topic naman natin is performing wrong or irrelevant research. And lastly, performing wrong or relevant research na tayo. This happens when the research being done doesn't actually answer the client's main problem or objective. In other words, off-topic yung study. For example, the client asked for a research about customer satisfaction, pero ang ginawa mong focus ay product pricing. That's already irrelevant. Yes, it's still research, but it doesn't help the client with what they actually need. Doing this can cause a lot of problems. First, sayang ang resources. Kasi hindi mo nasagot yung tanong na dapat sagutin. Second, it can lead to wrong business decisions since the data doesn't align with the real issue. That's why it's so important to always clarify the research objectives before starting. Make sure you understand exactly what the client wants to know and keep your methods aligned with these goals. Okay? At the end of the day, being a good researcher isn't just about collecting data. It's about providing the right data and the right time for the right purpose. Okay? And so that's all for my discussion about research ethics. These points remind us that research isn't just about data. It's also about the values like honesty, respect, and professionalism. When we follow these principles, we build stronger trust with our clients and maintain integrity in everything we do as researchers. Thank you and God bless.
Kapag may napansin kang error, kailangan mo siyang ayusin. Kasi kapag may error siya tapos pinabayaan mo na lang siya sa studies mo, talagang malaking problema siya sa pagre-research. as a researcher talaga, kailangan talaga natin ayusin yung mga errors na mga yun. Moving on po sa using unwarranted shortcuts. Ito po yung mga example sa paggamit po ng mga shortcuts in doing a research but it's not warranted. So isa na po dito is lax respondent checks. So basically ang mga researcher is basta nagsa-survey na lang sila, pero hindi nila inaalam or chine-check kung yung mga taong pinagsa-survey nila is qualified sa research nyo. Parang sinusurvey nyo sa mga elementary school ang mga questionnaires na dapat pang high school lang sumasagot. Next naman po is ignoring pretests. So, ang mga researcher is parang di na sila nagpre-pretest ng mga questionnaires nila. Ang pretesting po kasi is tumutulong po to para malaman kung yung question design is maayos ba or may flaws. Kung yung mga question ba is it has flaws or is it flawless. So, kung as a researcher, kung hindi mo siya pre-pretest yung mga questionnaires, yung pag-research mo, yung paggawa mo ng study is magiging invalid or hindi na siya reliable. Next naman po, applying inappropriate analytical techniques. So, as a researcher, face po natin na ang paggagawa ng research is time-consuming or can be expensive. So, parang as a result, yung mga ibang researchers dyan, nag-a-apply na lang sila ng parang inappropriate para lang ma-justify nila yung cost or yung cost or yung time sa paggawa nila ng research. So basically, parang ganun na lang, tas parang gumagawa na sila ng research, tas ganun na lang, tapos parang binabahalat na lang nila kay Batman. Next naman po is exceeding uncertainty limitations. So basically, in simple terms, pinupush mo yung study beyond its reliable boundaries. Ang resulta nito, nagiging uncertain or nagiging unreliable yung research mo para maging useful siya or trustworthy. So, sa shortcut na ito, kinakat po nila yung mga importanteng mga bagay, tapos nagiging inaccurate yung research. Next naman po is hiding study limitations. So, dito po sa shortcut na to, ang ginagawa po nila is tinatago po nila yung mga errors ng research. So, parang kunwari, ito tinatago nila yung error na to, yung question na to is meron pala siyang error, tapos kapag sinasabi mo to sa mga clients, para tinatago mo siya, tapos ino-over mo pa siya na yung research na to is very reliable kahit hindi naman talaga. Kaya yun, sa paggawa ng shortcuts na ito, mini-mislead nila yung mga clients nila, tapos pine-prevent nila sa paggawa ng mga informed decisions. Lastly, pretending to be an expert. Itong shortcut naman na ito nag-o-occur kapag ang researcher is wala siyang knowledge, wala siyang expertise sa research na to. Pero yun nga, ginawa niya pa rin. Basically, parang ginawa niya pa rin, tapos hindi niya ina-acknowledge na may limits may limit siya sa paggawa nito, mga ganun. Parang pinepretend mo lang sa sarili mo na kaya mo to kahit hindi naman. Recognizing obligations to researchers. So, ang pinaka-idea po dito is that yung clients is dapat naka-engage po sila in a fair and proper research proposal process. Ito naman yung mga ways para mag-conduct ng proper proposal process. One here is avoid pseudo pilot studies. So, kapag kailangan wag kang mag-mislead sa researchers ng mag-suggest ng pang long term na projects. Kung yung research naman is pang isang beses lang naman. Kailangan maging truthful, maging honest ka sa mga researchers as a client. Tapos next naman po is cancel research projects fairly. To be honest, nangyayari naman po talaga yung pagka-cancel ng mga projects. Pero as a client, kailangan kapag ika-cancel mo yung mga projects na yun, kailangan fair para sa mga researchers yung pag-cancel ng mga yun. Kasi hindi naman talaga dapat kina-cancel yung mga researchers. Pero kung talagang may good reason sila, go lang. Next naman po is don't support a political agenda. So, ang sinasabi naman po dito na as a client, dapat gumamit ng research bilang isang flashlight upang liwanagin ang daan patungo sa tamang desisyon. Hindi dapat ito bilang martilyo para durugin ang anumang pagtutol sa isang nakahandang idea. So, nangangailangan ito ng matapat na pag-iisip at isang tunay na pangako sa paghahanap ng katotohanan. Lastly, conduct proper advocacy research. So, okay lang na gamitin ang research para ipagtanggol ang iyong panig, pero hindi okay na dayain ang research mismo. Dapat manatiling matapat sa datos at sa scientific. Lastly, conduct proper advocacy research. So, ang sinasabi naman po nito is kapag hahanap po tayo ng truth, dapat hindi lang yung truth na gusto natin yung hahanapin natin. Dapat yung the whole truth. Yun lang po yung last po dito. Remembering clients' obligations to respondents. So, ang sinasabi naman po nito is dapat as a client, dapat nirespeto nila yung purpose ng research nila at yung mga participants nila. So, dapat hindi nila ini-exploit yung mga respondent nila para sa sales nila. Dapat mag-act din sila responsibly. Ito naman yung mga guidelines kapag isa kang kliyente. Number 1 is avoiding creating prospect lists from respondent list. So, dapat ang isang kliyente, hindi dapat nila ginagamit yung information na nakuha nila sa research study para gumawa ng sales or marketing list. Act on dangerous result. Kung yung research is, kapag yung research na napansin mo na dangerous pala or nagkakos ng harm siya, as a client, dapat obligation mo siya. It's your obligation to address that issue. Recalling that respondents have obligations too. So, ang mga clients, hindi lang po sila ang may obligation. May obligations din ang mga respondents. So, ano nga ba ang obligations nila? Ang obligations po nila is that if they are willing to participate on the research.